Hello, everyone. Welcome to this Twendembele webinar on monitoring and evaluation in Uganda. My name is Radhika Menon. I lead the Evidence Use Hub in Oxford Policy Management. It's my privilege to be moderating a very interesting webinar today. As you all know, Uganda has made rapid strides in strengthening monitoring and evaluation in the country. In the last 15 years in particular, we've seen policy reforms being undertaken, strategies being developed, mechanisms being put in place to institutionalize monitoring and evaluation. And it's been great to see this boom, particularly in the last 15 years. And today's webinar gives us a chance to do some stock taking today. So in this case, I'll be speaking on how does research fit into this story. And I will follow through that, then how the achievements within the brief sense, some of the lessons we've seen, and how that has the impact of M&E been in this arena. And the rest will be around the floor, reactions or comments, discussion, and to add their input to the whole discussion. Yes, so as I was saying, EPRC's main role in this area as a think tank that has been around for over 20 years is to provide evidence-based research that's aiming to guide policy implementation processes for both government partners, both external and internal, beyond government. So in this area where we come in with my friends from Prime Minister's office, because EPRC sits on the evaluation subcommittee that is chaired with, that's sitting within the Prime Minister's office, and also belong to the National Working Group on Monitoring and Evaluation. And as an institution, we are representing the research and academia in this arena of the committees. So we do provide the technical input to some of the other works that have been done with our partners, such as those are funded either through the EU, that are also being done by other colleagues from Makerere University, other consultants. So we do provide this kind of the chain of research in terms of technical capacity and input for rigor in terms of what is going on or being evaluated. So we, as an institution, we do also work with the various ministries and departments to evaluate also the ongoing researches or the already concluded programs, as you'll see. So in this regard, one of the issues which I've just touched on the last bit, when we, as an institution, worked with the Prime Minister's office, when the minister, the Prime Minister at that time, Honorable Ndugu, was wondering why poverty reversals. And when government has put in so much into these issues around reduction of poverty without going back to the institution. So as an institution, we're tasked to do this, and we supported the Prime Minister's office in evaluating the assessment programs around livelihood, of which this was a process evaluation. I'm giving an example of some of these. The figure there gives an example of some of the programs that were evaluated. And I must say, government had over 325 livelihood-related interventions that were ongoing. So you can see the kind of work that the Department of Monitoring and Evaluation has on its table to do a lot of evaluations on there. So EPRC did on this to give a picture of what is ongoing. And there are really interesting results in there, which of course is today's point of discussion. So the other achievement, so we do, on the issues around the technical input, yes, it's okay, +5 to go to the next one, next slide. On the technical input, we as an institution also do provide some bit of big support in the Northern Uganda Social Action Fund. This is being supported by the World Bank. So there are several projects or programs that are being implemented through NUSAF. The issues around the watersheds, issues around the DRF, that's the Development Relief Fund or for the refugees. We have the DINO itself, which not DINO is separate, but we have other on issues around disaster preparedness. So some of these reports that come in through the NUSAF Technical Committee as an institution, it has been a big achievement to provide input into the success and programming and implementation of the NUSAF 3. So we see also another achievement coming through one of the projects that we do support called the Include project,
on creating productive and decent work for youth and women, where through the collaborations we've been having through M&E, we're holding barazas. As everyone can imagine, Corona presented challenges in times of doing hardcore research, in terms of acceptability, in terms of reaching out to persons. So you find that the barazas that the former speaker has actually talked about, Mayanja, really are also a bit effective in trying to do accountability for the value for money and what's going around with the citizens' voices. So in that, one of the things we've also learned is around aspects of stakeholder mapping to understand your environment in terms of who's influencing what for action. And the other bit has been also, which Radhika is good is there, is us partnering with SEDI in terms of strengthening the evidence development for impact. In here at the country level, it has been a bit interesting when we find that you need to map and understand who are your influencers. So, sorry, let's go back a bit. So on the issue around SEDI, the works in here have been, an eye-opener in terms of who do you influence? Who should you partner with to work? Where should your work go for action? So that's one of the things that SEDI actually does. You'd think you know your environment well until you have encountered or worked with what SEDI actually calls for. So it is a really important pathway of trying to see how best you can influence your evidence for the higher level in terms of uptake. So that has been a very good experience in terms of seeing how best we can actually take our work for uptake up. So what have we learned in the process? That engagement processes actually do differ, and engagement really matters. And in this case, timing is very essential. So right now, as the previous speakers have talked, we are in the NDP world. So what are we going to do to make sure we are relevant to the NDP3? So the timing of evaluation towards the NDP3 implementation processes is very critical. So also the other bit we learned in the process is the programming design actually also do matter for evidence, especially within evaluation world. So if you really want to convince your people you've marked out there as the influencers and high stakes, then your designs really will matter in this case for you to be taken seriously. So also it was very critical to understand our operating environment. Now recall, it was sometimes you see either elections here, not elections here, new manifestos going on. So what should you do in this scenario? How should you strategize yourself to have what you packaged around to go in? So I would rather think that, is it critical to see how best your work also fits into the current manifestos as M&E? What are we going to do also for the manifesto of the ruling government to actually evaluate it in terms of the environment for it to be impactful? So the other bit we also learned in the process was, once you actually establish trust, especially among government people, okay, and you strengthen these relations over time, this is one of the key ways of having work going on and being listened to as an authority in the M&E arena. So it is very critical in this area that as the M&E department or its partners, we are on board, we need to establish the quality of the work we bring out, that is not actually, what should I say, sieved in terms of the evidence we are bringing on. We give it as it is, and then the moment we are taken seriously, then it is those issues of relations that are actually going to be key in ongoing relations with government. As OPRM, how do you relate with other ministries or other MDAs when probably trust is low? So the other aspect on this issue has been, when we see evidence use is seen more as a reporting avenue, carrot and stick. If you sit within the national working group of M&E, sometimes they feel like it's a carrot and stick, just reporting what I'm going to do, and that's it. And I think we need to go beyond this to see the critical actions that are being, what need to be done, such that we need to invest in what is the so what, especially as M&E fraternity. What is it, so what after generating this evidence? As OPM, do you take the initiative to see it being actionalized, at least within the government spaces. So how do we engage with these decision makers to ensure that the uptake is done? We had the PLE, I think, evaluation done. When the results came out, what happened? So what was the issue around it? The YLP. So as an M&E department, I think they need to move beyond process evaluations. I think there have been very many. I know Timothy will agree with me. Every single proposal we have on board is a process evaluation. But we need a bit of rigor. But again, that's because it's coming from some of the deficits we're having, the program designs we have already in place. You find you come on board to evaluate a program when it's already ongoing. So how will you be in terms of rigor, in terms of implementing or evaluating these processes that actually are not very well informed within the designs when we are going to implement them or execute them? So actually enforcing an evaluation becomes also a bit difficult to do attribution of the impacts of these programs. So what has as the impact of OPM's department, in my perception, has been around the biggest bit, the convening power, as you can see even today, in convening the environment around M&E in Uganda and beyond. So that we do commend the department or the director of M&E. And also the other bit on their impact has been at least conducting evaluation government programs that actually inform government itself, even if they're process evaluations. The only issue we have to say is, do they listen in terms of when these evaluations have gone, and what can we track those actions that have come out from these evaluations? And lastly, one of the things, again, we noticed the way the department or the directorate is recognition and leveraging on the roles and the strengths of its partners, like EPRC here today, to contribute its mandate in terms of evidence. When there's no capacity within the department, at least they do leverage on this kind of environments out there beyond M&E itself. So we do see that kind of impact from M&E. And I think the role of research is really, really taken seriously within the department and the Directorate of Monitoring and Evaluation within the Office of the Prime Minister. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, let me conclude to that as our experience within our 10 minutes because of time. We can always engage within the platform and within the chat room. Thank you so much, Radhika.